Yeah, I just wanted to start by saying, a huge thank you to everyone, and first and foremost, the biggest thank you goes to my wife, Amanda. It's not an easy move in this profession, and just being able to have her confidence to say we're going to go and take on this challenge back in 2018 to come here was life changing for me personally, and her support throughout the entire 3.5 years has been unparalleled, unmatched, and I can't do my job without her. So that's number one. Um, the next group of people that I'd like to thank is my coaching staff. I've got some of the best people in the entire USL that I've worked with over the last 3.5 years, starting with Zach Prince, who has an incredibly bright future, and I'm excited to see where things go for him. Brandon Morris is arguably the best at his job and has been at the best at his job at Louisville City prior to this, and then now a lot of what we do is because of him, and a lot of the success we have is because of him. So that's two successful franchises that he's been a part of, and then lastly Tyler Harris. Tyler Harris has been incredible. I mean, incredible over the 3.5 years. All three of those guys were here from the beginning, and a lot of thanks goes to Peter Davis. The last 2 seasons he's been with us as our goalkeeper coach. He's just one of the best at what he does. And then prior to that, we had Mike Grazik, who got us started in year one, Gavin Clinton. All these coaches really made a huge difference in being able to let me do my job at a really high level. The next group of people I like to thank is just this front office. This front office really allows us and puts us as the priority with what we do on field, to make sure that we're able to not have to think about anything and just be able to go and do our jobs. And they do it with such care, with such passion. So a lot of thanks goes to them and the energy that they put into every single season. The players, the players are what make me always pause and think about every decision that I make, whether it's a big decision like this or it's a decision that affects them playing week to week. But I have such a special relationship with every individual that's come through this club, and that's the priority in my coaching philosophy, is relationships with players. And I've had some incredibly special ones over 3.5 seasons. Our fan base. I say this all the time, and you guys think that I'm saying it just to make myself look good in front of this community, but I've never seen anything like it in the USL. The only thing that I've compared it to in the past is Cincinnati, just in terms of the groundswell that Cincinnati had in their first couple seasons of existence prior to going to the MLS. But this is uniquely different because every single kick of the ball matters. Every single thing we do in the community matters to this community, because it's a club of substance now, and that substance is lots and lots of layers that have been built for this community, because we appreciate them so much. So thank you to our fans. And then lastly, outside of my wife, probably the person that I have the most respect for and the most gratitude for is Peter Trevisani. I interviewed for virtually every position that you can imagine in the USL. Anything that came open, I was trying to get an interview or get my name in the hat, and most of the time it was a no. Peter is the type of person that always says yes, and I think that's something he said yes to me, and that changed my life. But he says yes to this community all the time, and he continues to look for ways to positively influence New Mexico, and he'll continue to do that going forward. But this guy is the best owner in the league, hands down. He's also our president and CEO and the leader of this club, and why the future is bright for us going into year 4. Questions?
But is it more of when your contract ended, and is it a good time to get back to like where you're from and stuff like that?
Yeah, Peter and I had a lot of conversations over the last year about extending the contract, and what the best path was, what the best avenue was for me personally, what the best path was for the club. And what we decided on after a couple of conversations was, let's just finish out the year. Let's try to put the priority and the focus on the 2021 season, and then we'd have that conversation at the end of the year. And I had to do a lot of self-reflection. I think he wanted me to return, and I appreciate that. But what I had to say was, am I going to be the best leader possible? Is this exactly what the club needs in year 4? am I ready for a new challenge, a new change? So all these things went into the equation of this decision, and I don't know what's next. I know that's a question you probably want to ask. I genuinely don't have the next thing lined up. I'm excited about that, and I'm going to take some time to make sure it's the right decision. But you guys know my personality; that probably won't last too long. I'm ready to see what that new challenge is and get to work.
Well, just to follow up on that, the reason I was asking you that get closer home and all that stuff is because you just had a child.
That's right, yeah, and she's man, she's amazing. 13 months old, going on 14. She consumes a lot of my time whenever I'm not focused on my job. But going back home, I mean, I don't know if that's an option. I really don't know if that's an option. Home is Charlotte, North Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina. So I don't know what that looks like, but it's a possibility.
Was there any back and forth where you said, I think it's time, and then maybe it's not time, and I think it's time, and then finally you made the decision? Was there wavering, or was it pretty much cut and dry?
Not really, because the conversations with Pete and I have been over the last year really about, what exactly would happen at the end of the year. And I think when it came down to it, when I got done with this season, what I didn't want to do was waver. I wanted to make sure that I had a good conversation with my wife. I had a good conversation with Peter, so that if the decision was to not stay here, the club can move forward, because the club's in a phenomenal position. It's not like this is a project that you want to blow up. It's not like this is something that needs to be completely redone. It needs to be fine-tuned, but it needs to have the right leader who has the right energy to go forward and take it to the next level and bring a championship to New Mexico. That's always the goal.
Have you spoken to players? I assume you have.
I have, yeah.
What was that like?
Amazing. It was amazing. Being able to share the news with them, as I do with everything else, transparently and honestly. I think they understand. I think they were a little caught off guard because, it's not something that, again, it's not like we were losing match after match. We have 3 winning seasons, and 2 of those are in the playoffs. I think it's a disappointment that we weren't in the playoffs this year, and I look at myself first and foremost for that. But with the players, they support me no matter what, and I appreciate that.
What do you hope the next coach is going to be like for the players to get them to the level you want the team to still be at?
The next coach for me is going to hopefully carry on a lot of what we built in the first 3.5 years. I think continuity is incredibly important because, again, it's not a rebuild. You're not looking at retooling a lot of the things that we've built here. It's fine-tuning and also, changing a little bit of the voice, maybe changing a little bit of the decision-making. I have plenty of critiques for myself, as I'm sure a lot of people do. But what I would say is that's also part of the decision-making, is saying maybe it's in order to bring a championship, it's best to have someone else in this role to move forward and, see if they can do the job. So I'm excited for whoever that is.
Did they ask you any recommendations as far as coach? Because I know you have guys on your staff and how that works sometimes.
No. I think the world of my staff. And I said that earlier, but that's not my decision now. That's up to Peter. It's up to our ownership group, and I think Itamar will be a major part in that too, who's just come on board, and that's a very important person to have on staff too, by the way. I'm sure Heather might even have an opinion on it as well.
Do you have anything that you would say to the New Mexico United fan base now that you're moving on? Any departing comments?
Just thank you. I don't think that there will ever be an experience like this for me again. The connection that we made was real. It was genuine, and I cherish every single moment. I cherish every single interaction that I had with the fans, whether it was small, whether it was a wave, whether it was a long conversation. I appreciate how much they invest in me, in this club, and we're going to continue to invest more in them, that's for sure. I had to stop saying we.
A lot of people have taken this time, the pandemic, to really reflect on what is important to them and leaving really powerful positions and, positions that are held in high regard in the community. Was that something that kind of played into your decision as well?
Not really. No. I mean, I appreciate that question, and I think you're exactly right. But I don't think that played much of a part. No.
So if you guys were in the playoff run right now, you would obviously carried it all the way through.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I wish that we were. I wish we were
Okay.
playing tonight or tomorrow night.
No, it's not something you can sum up in real quick, but you had 3 years here, you went through the pandemic here, some playoffs. Anything in particular kind of jump out at you when you think about, the 3 years you spent?
And start with everything, Ken. The first time I was named head coach, Amanda can attest to this, and only a few people really. We had a interaction that night of me being able to meet the fans for the first time, and there was 200 fans there, and they were ready to go. Ken. I mean, they were ready to go now. And so that started it for me, like, okay, this thing's very serious and this is very different than any other club in the USL, all the way into kicking off. And that first week leading into the opening match, I'll never forget Pete saying, okay, we're at 6,000 fans. I was like, 6,000? I've only played in front of about 2,500 in Charlotte and then it went to 7, then it went to 8, into 9, into 10. And then I got a little nervous because I said, this fan base is going to be expecting a lot. And while we didn't deliver, it was a draw on that night, so you can make a cheeky comment about that if you want to, because we've had too many draws in my 3.5 years. It was the most incredible atmosphere I'd ever experienced. And then we started winning, and then it got even better. The Open Cup run, I think, really gave us credibility as an organization. I think that showed that New Mexico, can't be overlooked. Can't be overlooked anymore for a lot of reasons. And when you beat the likes of Colorado Rapids and FC Dallas, and you're up 1-0 in Minnesota for the first 10 minutes, don't talk about the other 80 minutes. It shows you that New Mexico's on the map and New Mexico matters. Then we made the playoffs, and then we hit the COVID period, and I think that's when we saw really how influential the club was, because we started to realign what our priorities were and invest in the community more. The Diversity Fellowship Program came out of that. The Somos Unidos Foundation came out of that. Our youth academy started to come out of that. So we really dug into adding in layers to this club. Then went on the road, man, and did, arguably our best in a lot of ways. That was our best form, was going on the road, picking up results, and doing it to inspire our community. Winning our first playoff match was electric. And then we had some incredible moments this year. I mean, this year, again, a winning season this year. I think about Meow Wolf Night and seeing everyone get back together. Just the first home match back together was a win and a big moment. Christian Nava, this kid, I saw him play for Albuquerque High, and the first year I was here, and he's stepping on the field at Isotopes Park as a 17-year-old and fulfilling his dream, and again, inspiring dreams for those in New Mexico. So I told you it was everything, Ken. I think I summed it all up right there, buddy.
If
Summed
the,
that up pretty well, I thought. Yeah.
if the stadium bond package had passed, would your decision to stay be?
No. That had nothing to do with that. And I think what's interesting about that, that's not in my range of experience to be able to understand what everything went into that to get it to that stage. And what I'll say about it, though, is that Peter's going to continue to say yes and find ways to make sure that we continue to build as a club. And some owners may not have that type of outlook. And so that tells you everything you need to know about that guy, because he wants things to be positive for this community. And, I'm excited to see that come to. I'm going to be at the first match at the home stadium, whenever that is. But that had nothing to do with my decision, no.
Coach, what's New Mexico mean to you as you?
New Mexico means family, la gente, red and green. Drew Lesesne, a winning culture. I think that's something that's important to say, which is why it's disappointing we're not in the playoffs. But there's an expectation now. So all those things, man.
What would you say the future holds for New Mexico United?
It's bright. I'm optimistic in general, as you know, but Year 4, man, year 4, I genuinely, that's what the hardest thing is to walk away from, is I think it's actually our best year to go and win a championship. It's in a good spot. We have a lot of players returning. We have a lot of good things happening behind the scenes for new players. But again, the ego tells you to stay and try to win a championship. The right thing to do, though, for myself, my family, is to take on a new challenge.
Coach, your biggest takeaway over the past 3 years?
Biggest takeaway is that New Mexico has way more to offer than people give it credit for. And if we can continue to shed positive light on the state through a soccer club, I think that's phenomenal. But this state is special, this community is special, and it's like no other in the USL.
Anything else, guys? Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate all the work, guys.